The Pittsburgh Steelers are looking at quarterbacks, and there's one name that was brought up, but there's another name that apparently wants to go elsewhere. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers lose him, well, maybe they need a better plan B. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbein. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. I'm chilling in my parents' living room right now, figuring this out, about to hit the road back to Pittsburgh. Obviously, we all watched the Kansas City Chiefs win another Super Bowl last night, and I'm pretty sure I speak for everybody at this point when we're just saying this is boring. Let's find somebody new, and hopefully that new is the Pittsburgh Steelers. But as we all witnessed last night, there's nothing that means more to a Super Bowl team than a quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes changes games. Brock Purdy being able to do what Brock Purdy did in moments last night changes games, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are trying to figure out how do they break the mold, break the drought, get there, and their quarterback situation seems to be the next step, according to team president Art Rooney, head coach Mike Tomlin, and they got to figure it out. And they're hoping that that quarterback is either Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph. But according to NFL Network, Mason Rudolph does not want to be in Pittsburgh. He's looking for a quote-unquote fresh start somewhere else in free agency and expects offers. And I think I expect him to get some offers elsewhere and for other teams to have some interest in a guy that went 3-1 for the Steelers at the end of the year and looked good and immediately turned an offense that struggled all year long into one that was very capable of winning games. And I mean, if he doesn't throw an interception and the team doesn't come up with some costly penalties against the Buffalo Bills, I think they're very much so in that playoff game just because of what Mason Rudolph can do with the football. And you have to wonder what he would do with an entire season with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the weapons that they have. Is it time to turn to Mason Rudolph? Maybe they don't even get that opportunity. There's two sides to this. We'll start with the, Mason Rudolph wants to leave side. I think it makes sense. I think after years of being pushed to the side and not being viewed as somebody who's an equal opportunist in Pittsburgh, I'd want to leave too. We've mentioned it time and time again that what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done to Mason Rudolph throughout the years didn't build a strong relationship. There was never a moment in Pittsburgh or during Mason Rudolph's time in Pittsburgh where you sat around and you said, yep, Mason did this to himself. No, there was a lot of times where Mason Rudolph got a bad rep, or Mason Rudolph never got a fair opportunity, or they would tell Mason Rudolph things and then they'd go and do the opposite of those things, and it would simply piss him off. And I get that. If I'm Mason Rudolph, I want to go somewhere else too. I want to have somewhere where it's a dry slate. I get an opportunity to showcase who I am as Mason Rudolph, and there's no baggage. There is no false pretenses. There is no, we assume you're going to do this. And on top of that, there's no Kenny Pickett. There is no, this is our first-round quarterback. We desperately want him to work out. We desperately want him to be the franchise guy, and we are willing to lose games because Kenny Pickett is our first-round pick. There's none of that. If I'm Mason Rudolph, I want to go somewhere where the competition is equal. It is Mason Rudolph versus whoever, because we believe these are our best two options at quarterback. And if Mason Rudolph's the best one, he's our starter. I agree with that. I've agreed with that from the start. And I've said multiple times that I don't know if Mason Rudolph's going to come back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm not totally sold that he would want to come back to the Pittsburgh Steelers unless money speaks and they're willing to cough up a good chunk of change. But on the other side of that, you got to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and say, okay, well, if we're going to lose Mason Rudolph, what are our options? And how do we keep those options just as equal, if not better, moving forward? And the name that NFL Network tossed out there is obviously Ryan Tannehill because of his connection to Arthur Smith and what he did in the Tennessee Titans for that one season. And immediately your response should be no. Ryan Tannehill, cool, had success, has been an experienced veteran and a guy that if he was coming in here to be a backup, awesome. But if he comes in here, if he goes to Pittsburgh, that's all he's coming to be is a backup. And you're looking at the situation and going, oh, okay, so the Steelers have given up on competition with Kenny Pickett, and they are now strictly looking for a backup quarterback in Ryan Tannehill just because if Kenny doesn't work out, they have a plan B, and that plan B isn't very good. That's not what you're looking for if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if that's where they settle, all this work, all this offensive coordinator hire and get a new quarterbacks coach and do all these good things and preach how we're impatient and we're growing and we have to break the mold and we got to do things differently and the quarterback is the next step, it all goes out the window. None of it makes any sense, because if you're not going to bring in real competition for Kenny Pickett, if you're going to look at the situation and just say, well, Ryan Tannehill is a good backup, you didn't take a step forward this offseason. You've almost taken a step backwards, because you know what you're getting in Kenny Pickett right now, and you hope that he takes a step forward, but you cannot assume that he takes a step forward. And if you do assume that he takes a step forward and that he's ready to be that guy, and all the work that he did in the offseason, all the work that he did in OTAs when there is no pressure on him, all the work that he did with no competition on defense, he's ready. If that's what you're going to assume, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, then you're not ready to break that mold, and you're ready to have the same struggles that you've had earlier. And I'm sure Arthur Smith has come in here, and I am sure during his interview process, he talked about Kenny Pickett. Once he got hired, he talked about Kenny Pickett. I'm sure there has been plenty of moments from the moment that Arthur Smith first spoke to Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney and Omar Khan until right now, where he has said, I can fix Kenny. I could take him to be a franchise quarterback. I can make him be a starter, a quality guy. I can get all the talent out of Kenny Pickett. Hopefully. But you cannot take that as, well, this is truth. This is going to happen. We no longer have to worry. Don't worry. Arthur Smith says he can fix Kenny Pickett, and that is all we need to know. No. You have to have competition. You have to have a real name, not Ryan Tannehill. And Mason Rudolph was a real name. He might not have been the greatest name. He might not have been a Josh Allen or a first-round pick or whoever you want to go trade and get. Justin Fields is the name I keep tossing out there, and people keep telling me to shut up. But he's not a Justin Fields. He's not any of these big-name, splashy quarterbacks that the Pittsburgh Steelers could go out and get. But he's a step above Ryan Tannehill. You know that you could get more out of Mason Rudolph, and you know that you don't know what the ceiling is for this guy. You do know what it is with a Ryan Tannehill. You can't be looking like that. And if that's where the Pittsburgh Steelers stand, if that's the expectation right now, that Mason Rudolph is looking elsewhere and that Ryan Tannehill will replace him, the Pittsburgh Steelers are putting themselves in a hole. And they're starting the season on a bad note, and they're taking all the progress that they've put into this offseason and this coaching staff and these changes that they've promised and all these players preaching, hey, look, we have to buckle down and hold true to taking a step forward. It all goes out the window. The moment that you settle for, well, this is a good backup. Because if you're not bringing in real competition, if you're not bringing in somebody that's going to really push Kenny Pickett, you can't expect Kenny Pickett to improve. And you can't expect your quarterback situation to take that next step as Art Rooney wants it to take and Mike Tomlin wants it to take. It's just the sad truth. And if that's where the Steelers stand, they could be in tough waters. And if it's not, and if they're going to change, great. But if Mason Rudolph leaves and they do not have a backup plan worthy of Mason Rudolph's status, I think that's a major loss at the quarterback position. And watching a Super Bowl last night, I can tell you right now, Kenny Pickett and Ryan Tannehill don't move the needle enough to sit here and say, oh, well, there's a shot the Steelers have put themselves in a situation to compete next year for the big game.